Hello, everyone, and welcome to Grip Locked, Foundation Disc Golf's weekly podcast. I'm Hunter, joined, as always, by Trevor, and we've got quite a bit going on today. We had the Vintage Open last week, which was a Silver Series, I do believe. Mm-hmm. Yes, a Silver Series. We also had the first major of the year, which people might not know.
Yeah.
Collegiate Disc Golf Nationals happened last weekend down in North Carolina. And then we're going to jump over, look at Jonesboro Open, and talk through a few different ideas that are possible for the future of disc golf. Let's look at the notes. Definitely going to be an interesting show. But starting off with the Vintage Open, I'm going to be completely honest with you right here.
Okay.
I did not get to consume this tournament.
And I was with you, so...
Oh, okay. Well, cool.
We were in the same place.
Yeah, we were busy with the clinic going on this weekend, and then I had a pretty full Sunday doing a bunch of mulch stuff around the back of my house. So I never got to watch this tournament, unfortunately. But we do know the results, which was Calvin Heimberg taking it down.
It also ended on Saturday.
So we were busy
Sunday
Saturday.
was irrelevant.
So Sunday was irrelevant. Completely ignore everything I just said. Calvin Heimberg takes it down 2 strokes over James Conrad coming in second, Nico LaCastro coming in third. And when we looked at our predictions from last week, you were able to get 2 out of these 3 correct.
Yes.
I, on the other hand, was able to get 0 out of these 3 correct. So I went Kevin Jones, Chris Dickerson, and Ricky, and we saw how that worked out for me.
We kind of only made one safe pick, and he was also in my picks, Ricky, and he didn't pan out.
Connor, can you look this up? Sorry, can you look up on the Vintage Open, where was Ricky?
He was like 5th or 6th, I think.
Can you look it up? I'm curious because Nico was already 7 strokes out of the lead.
Yeah, no, Ricky had a bad week.
That's kind of wild.
But he wasn't like out of the top 10.
Yeah, the Vintage Open, I just want to see where he's at. While Connor's looking that up, FPO, we had Sarah Hokum annihilating the field by 8 strokes over Jessica Weiss, Katrina Allen in third. On this one, I actually had 2 of the top 3 correct, and Trevor only had 1 of 3.
Yes.
So overall, Trevor, you beat me last week with 3 of the 6, and I had 2 of the 6.
Yes, Connor.
Ricky was in 5th.
5th place.
Well, how many strokes was he out?
Ricky, he finished at -16, so 10 strokes back from the lead.
10 strokes back of the lead, and that's only a 3-round tournament?
Yeah.
Wow. That's kind of shocking because Ricky kind of been on hot there for a little bit.
It was an off run for him there.
Yeah. Now, when we look at dark horse picks as well, because that's something we brought back for the Vintage Open, we will be doing that again this week with Jonesboro Open. Me and Connor both tied with Justin McClune and Ian Burchett, placing 39th. Trevor's pick, Trayvon Crow, placed 59th. So we're giving the win here to Connor. Because he picked a lower-rated player. And Connor is currently enjoying his coffee behind the scenes there that Trevor went by and picked it up. We'll be doing that again. We're gonna keep the coffee bet going.
Yeah.
There's no real cap on how much we can spend on coffee, but
Okay.
they probably will be if I
Within reason. That's like
but who's
reason?
This is back to the time argument. Who is the reasonable one?
I think okay. Well, let me go ahead and do it.
We need a hard
argument.
limit.
Let me establish that within reason is $6 or less.
Okay, I
Because
think that's reasonable.
The most like foo cup of coffee you could ever want should be no more than $6.
I mean, I've spent more than $6 on a cup of coffee.
Yeah, because you've gotten like okay. Where are you going to be able to spend that in like this area though?
Oh, on the right weekend, yeah.
Yeah, like if something special's in town.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's just hope that doesn't happen. But $6 is the cap. And if you're that guy that's pushing the envelope, then we're just going to hate you. So, it's up to you if you want to have friends or coffee. Continue.
Coffee. Going into, as we move on from the Vintage Open, we're going to take a look at College Disc Golf Nationals, the National Championship, Collegiate Disc Golf. We're only going to be paying attention to D1. There is a D2 and a D3. Also previously known as Champ Flight, First Flight, Second Flight.
Oh, they changed it?
Well, it says Champ Flight, but then in parentheses D1, and it makes a whole lot more sense for the world to just say D1.
Yeah, because Champ Flight and
I play First Flight, then everyone's like, oh, you're on the highest flight. You're like, no, there's a Champ Flight. And it's like, what? Why?
The first year that I played, and I was on First Flight, and when I told people that, I didn't correct them.
No, yeah.
I was like, yeah, I came 11th in First Flight. And they were like, oh, you were 11th in the country? And I was like, maybe.
Maybe. If I was playing Champ Flight, maybe.
I don't know.
So D1, D2, D3. That's how I'm referring to it. If we're looking at men's D1, we have Georgia taking it down in a playoff. This is the first time in my memory, I believe it was like 2014 or something, maybe 2015, that Collegiate Disc Golf has went to a playoff to decide the team champion.
Yeah, that's pretty
cool. It's been a while. Pretty sick to see that. There's some highlights on Innova's social medias. I actually haven't seen if there's any coverage of this out. I haven't seen any promoted. They're supposed to be. Fulcrum Media was supposed to be there.
College Disc Golf, it's not really mainstream yet. But like you have to follow them to like know.
There was a chance that we were going to do coverage. It just didn't work out weekend wise. We couldn't get the crew there and everything.
Yeah.
I wish we could have, because it would have been awesome to be able to bring this to the forefront.
It looked like fun. I can't lie. I was looking at like all of the teammates like hanging out and playing college disc golf nationals, and I was very jealous.
It made me miss it.
I was like, man,
take me back. I'm going back to college. I still got 2 years eligibility. You got 6 years.
Really?
Only used 4.
I've only used 3.
So you got 3 more years. Let's go get our masters.
Yeah,
you know what? Forget foundation. Let's go back and get our MBAs.
Pay for it, yeah.
Let's go work for Liberty and get our MBAs. So Georgia takes it down in a playoff over Missouri S&T. They came in second.
Georgia historically has had like pretty solid teams, but never like challenging at all.
No. The best team in Georgia used to be, we're going way back, it was Dustin Perry played for them.
Best team. Are you talking Augusta?
Augusta.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it used to be it was like their home courses.
Right.
You were coming to their home turf. Right. So yeah, I mean, Georgia taking now, Missouri S&T second, Texas A&M third. The men's powerhouse in Ferris State. I don't know how good of a team they had this year, but they did not take it down. But the women were able to continue their domination by Ferris State women's taking it down. Clemson coming in second, and then South Alabama coming in third.
Yes.
Now, one thing about collegiate disc golf is there is the team championship that we just went through. Then within that, there's also the individual championship. So there's kind of 2 different parts to it. So on the men's individual, we have David York from Georgia winning by 2 strokes.
Yeah. So must have had a ringer. I've never heard of him.
Yeah, I think he was a newer player.
Yeah.
Enjoy my computer background here. I don't know what just happened. If you're listening on audio, don't worry about it. Basically, the TV behind us just glitched. Men's individual, we had David York from Georgia winning by 2 over Tyler Fank from Missouri S&T. And then Mark Anderson, from Missouri S&T, came in third.
Is that the guy who won? Didn't the guy
Mark Anderson won my senior year.
Yeah.
2019.
I knew it was a Missouri S&T guy. They're a powerhouse all
of a
sudden.
And then Michael Jort also tied for third in NC State.
Yeah.
One thing I want to mention here, though, is Missouri S&T came in second on the team, and this could be confusing because Mark Anderson and Tyler Fank were in second and third place. They weren't on the same Missouri S&T team. So this year, Missouri S&T,
wow.
each team had their fielding teams of 2. So normally you field a team of 4. This year they broke it down to 2 to keep make it easier to abide by social distancing and everything like that for COVID. They haven't made it clear if they're going back to 4 in the future or not.
So he was like their number 3 guy or their number 4 guy?
So the team that came in second, the Missouri S&T team that came in second, when I was looking at it, it said Missouri S&T B.
That was their B team?
They could have fielded their B team as their better team being funny. I don't know. Because Mark Anderson was on the B team. I'm almost 90% sure, and he was a national champion.
The thing is, though, like a lot of the college teams are run as clubs, so there's like politics involved.
That's true too.
Because it's just like the kids themselves are the ones choosing the teams.
Yeah.
It's not like where we had a coach.
But I thought it was very interesting that the player who came in second and the player who came in third were technically on 2 different teams, even though they're the same school.
Man,
so like if they would have put them together,
that's a bummer.
Yeah, like they might have walked away national champions there. Because they were in a playoff, so
they would have.
They would have walked away national champions.
Wow.
Can you confirm that, Connor? Can you look up Collegiate Disc Golf National Championship?
They got to be kicking themselves.
Yeah, because like when I was looking at that, I was like,
Man,
the first thought in my head was, how do you have a player in second and third and not win? And then I was like, oh my word.
Can you imagine the fight that would have broken out if they would have like argued over that guy being left off the A team, and then that were to happen?
Yeah.
Like they would have been at each other's throats. Like, see, this is what I told you. Like,
yeah, I mean,
that stinks. That's a bummer.
Look at Missouri S&T.
How? Well, no. Well, it should be confirmed, right? Because if they were tied overall to go into playoffs.
Well, I want to make sure. Are you on the team results page?
Yeah.
Look at the Missouri S&T team. Who are the 2 players that are tied for first?
Is this in singles or is this in team?
Either one. Which one are you on?
Well, I know that the doubles partners for the team. Is that what you're looking for?
Yeah, that's what I'm looking for.
Yeah, Mark Anderson and Carl Eastman.
Yeah, exactly. So that's their Missouri S&T B team. So
yeah.
Tyler Fank. I don't know if I misspelled it. It's Frank or Fank.
It's Fank.
It is Fank. Okay. He was on their A team, so yeah, it is confirmed. If they would have been playing together, assuming their double scores and everything would have been the same,
Yeah, they would have won.
they would have won.
Yeah, because he's 968 rated, and then the person that was on the other team that was rated higher up was 962.
Oh, wow.
So it would have been their 2 highest rated players.
Maybe they went with the hot hand or something. I don't know.
Maybe, I don't know. But that's I mean, you're right. If that was a Liberty team and we got on that bus ride home,
there have been fights.
there would have been someone wouldn't
That's
have left that bus in one piece. I mean, they might have left in a stretcher. Michael Jordan, no surprise to see him there. He's a college disc golf
He's a
mainstay.
legend.
Yeah. NC State could have had one of the all-time great teams,
But Raven was on
Raven
tour.
Newsom went on tour.
Yeah.
Instead of saying
Thank
NC
goodness
State.
for everybody else in college disc golf, because if you had Raven and Jort, I'm sorry, in their home state, these guys are not losing.
The only thing about it is no team really had a home course advantage because
Less
this
travel,
course
though.
wasn't set up until the week of the event.
Yeah.
It had never been played before.
Just less travel, but you're right, not a huge advantage.
Yeah, looking over at the women's individual, we had Whitney Brown from Southern Arkansas, which I feel like they've been a pretty dominant women's program for a little bit now, right? Didn't they win a few years ago?
I think, yeah. I feel like they had...
They're the Banana Slugs, right?
Didn't
or something
they,
like that?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
I forgot about that, yeah.
Tiana Halfaday from Ferris State came in second. Emily Smith from Tennessee, third. And Alex Lambert from Clemson also tied for third. Alex Lambert, another one of those just mainstays in collegiate disc golf. I would imagine her and Jort have got to be pretty close to seniors. Because I played with both of them when I played at the same time as both of them for most of my career.
Yeah, some guys just are in college disc golf for seemingly forever.
Yeah, it does seem
It's
like
like
that.
Graham from Clemson. That guy's been on the team for a long time.
You do have 6 years eligibility.
Yeah, so if you get secondary education.
That's what
yeah.
happened. One of the coaches at Liberty, Devin Swartz, he went 4 years through, then went and got his master's, and so he was able to play 2 more years. So he was there for 6 years of collegiate disc golf and played all 6 years. So I'm sure other teams are and now he's a coach, so he's been there every year. I'm sure other teams are how the heck is this guy still playing?
And is the 6-year eligibility, is that a club sports thing or a college disc golf
I think it's
thing?
a college disc golf thing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So as long as they're keeping track.
Assuming they're keeping track.
Yeah.
That's correct. You might be able to get 10 years eligibility out of that. Yeah, I mean, it's one of my favorite majors of the year simply because it's kind of like one of those, I got to experience it.
It's awesome.
Firsthand. It's one of those things that I can go play Worlds, but I'm not going to get to experience it because I'm not in the top 10 or 15.
Right.
This is a major that we were able to go and actually compete.
Yeah.
And so it's always something that whenever this major comes back, I have a special attachment to.
Mm-hmm.
But this year's format was a little different than normal. For those of you who aren't aware, like I had said, it is a 2-player format. How it worked is basically they had 2 rounds of Captain's Choice doubles, 1 round of Best Disc, and 1 round of singles, which for the singles, they average their 2 single scores.
So Captain's Choice is a scramble. I don't know why it's called Captain's Choice, and in golf it's just called a scramble. You play the best shot on each, and everybody throws from it. The way it used to be, though, whenever it was 4-person teams, and you'd have that was when the format was a little bit unique because you'd have 2 teams essentially within the one team.
Yeah, and you'd have all.
And so it'd be it's like an alternate shot scramble.
Yeah, so basically it would be if me and Trevor, and then Connor and Nick Carl.
Yeah.
If we're the foursome, Connor and Nick Carl are partners. Me and Trevor are partners. Trevor and I tee off on 1. Connor and Nick Carl throw from wherever our disc lands. Then Trevor and I putt out from where their best disc lands, and then they tee off on 2.
Yeah.
And you just alternate shot.
But now they took that out because this year with the 2-person team, so it was basically just a straight up 2-man scramble.
I will say that historically, looking at college disc golf, the format has been the main weakness. Trying to figure out the best way to combine singles and doubles into it all. I think my senior year was the best year that I had played it. Because originally, the original format, collegiate doubles was always the main thing in doubles. You never played, if you had 4-man teams, you always played that. Then originally, you took the top 3 scores and you dropped the 4th. So that way,
that would be better.
If you didn't have a super deep team, or if someone blew up, it gave you a little bit of, cushion. And then they went, you take all 4s no matter what.
Yeah.
My senior year was my favorite one. It averaged all 4. Because the reasoning behind that was my junior year, Mississippi State, there's 2 rounds of singles, absolutely destroyed everyone. And I think they literally won by 40 some strokes.
Right,
it was at that point, the doubles didn't even matter. The
Well,
doubles you stayed within 5 strokes.
That's how it was like every year. Yeah, the doubles. Any good team was going to be within a couple strokes with doubles. It was basically just a singles tournament.
Yeah, you just showed up, you had to play 2 good rounds of
Right.
singles, and you won.
Exactly.
But by averaging the score, it just makes like another doubles round. Like if everyone can play decent, the most you're going to lose is probably like 4 or 5
But they did the
strokes.
math though, and it really didn't change by that many strokes.
Yeah, what are you talking about? Yeah, it did.
I think it changed by like on average.
Mississippi Mississippi State, would have won by, I believe, it was something like 10 strokes the year they won by 40.
How is that possible though?
How is it not?
Well, okay, like so what it?
So like if I beat you, if me and you are playing against each other, right?
Yeah.
There's 4 of you, there's 4 of me. I beat you by 10 strokes a round. I'm up 40 on you.
Yeah.
If we average it, I'm only up 10.
It's gonna take a while. I just remember reading an article about the new format, and it made it seem like
if all 4 of you shot a 54 and all 4 of me shot a 44, if you add them all together, I'm up 40.
All right.
If
Okay.
you average it, I'm up 10.
Yeah. Okay. I get what you're
That's
saying
where
now.
it takes away that, because that's what they did is they had like all 4 of them were first team All-Americans, meaning they finished in the top like 10
Yeah.
places. So
I
they
get what
just
you're saying.
slapped the whole field around. Once
get
you
what you're saying.
average it, it made it a little worse. So that's what they did here with the 2-person teams now. I don't know if I like it and would like it to stay 2-person teams or go back to 4.
No, I like the 4-person team format was really fun. I don't think it would have been as much of a problem if there were more teams. The whole idea, I think, was you would play doubles and you'd have the singles in the middle. And then the whole idea was after singles, there'd be teams close enough where doubles would matter. The problem was in college disc golf is not big enough yet to where every year there's going to be a few teams that are just so much better than everybody else. Yeah. I think if the teams were closer to each other in skill level, it would be fine because you would still, at the end of the day, after singles, have enough teams close enough that like, hey, doubles would be, like it might only separate by a couple strokes, but that's all you need.
This year it seemed like it worked. But
yeah, because there was less people.
Teams.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I think you should be rewarded for having a deep team, though. But
that's why I like
college disc golf is just college disc golf is just a little bit. It's not quite there yet to where there's enough schools with 4 guys who are all gonna be good.
It was almost like originally when we played, you did have to qualify. This year because of COVID and stuff, they weren't able to get a lot of qualifiers in. So I think any team could have entered. When you did have to qualify, there was like that, but there was always the top half of the field probably showed up thinking they had a chance to win. Mm-hmm. But the bottom half showed up ready to party. Is basically how it broke down.
But and then every year, literally, it would be a 2 or 3 horse race.
Yeah, by the end of the weekend, it was a 2 or 3 horse week.
After the first
singles
round, first singles round, there would be very clearly a couple teams that had a chance.
Let's look at this has nothing to do with anything.
The last year you
that.
played, it was NC State and Ferris State.
But how far ahead were they?
They were like 10 strokes.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's not that bad. So but not ahead. They were ahead of us. I think they were 10 strokes ahead of.
No. The top 2 teams were close, but nobody else was in it, which is like somewhat exciting.
But that's at least somewhat exciting because that was the whole issue previously was the top team and then no one.
I don't think it'll happen like that anymore. But I still think there should be more than 2
Ferris
teams.
State won by 3 strokes over NC State our senior year, and then we were 15 strokes behind them.
I don't like that.
But that was just because. Oh wait, they did do all 4. They didn't average. Our senior year. Why didn't they average?
Oh, I think they talked about it, but then
they
didn't
end up
implement
doing
it. Yeah.
I completely remember that differently. So that's why.
Yeah, it would have been closer.
Because we lost almost 10 strokes to the leaders in singles.
We got smoked in singles, which is not yours or Ryan's fault. It was me and Pete's fault. We got
in doubles. We hung around,
battered. No, yeah, we always. The thing is, if you have a good 4 players that are like at least like around a 950 or even lower level, like you're gonna hang around in single or in doubles.
This is I think.
But I
do think that the two player teams makes it easier for a fan to watch.
Yeah,
because it'd be going back to the 4-person and the collegiate doubles. Watching it from a fan's perspective, if you've never seen college disc golf, it would be very hard to follow.
Yeah.
Because it would just get confusing as to like, okay, Hunter and Trevor just teed off. Okay, now why are 2 other guys in red polos throwing?
I don't think it's that confusing.
Regardless, the biggest problem I see with it is just the lack of like coverage and promotion.
Yeah, I agree. Like,
I don't want to say it's their fault.
It isn't not because like
they
it's
post
pretty
a lot.
hard. Yeah, but like if you're not following them, like I don't I maybe it's the rest of disc golf.
That's what I'm saying.
Fault
I don't
for
know
like
if it's
not
college disc
pushing
golf's
it.
fault.
But like, where can you can't really? There's not really coverage every year. I think there's supposed to be this year, but
Which
like
that could technically be partially our fault because they thought we were coming.
well, there should be coverage
we told
of
them
it.
plenty of time ahead of time that we weren't.
And then
but-
like, I think it'd be great if they could get it on the disc golf network. Like
that would have been sick.
that
yeah.
would help a lot. But like, because like college disc golf like is pretty cool.
Well, college sports in general is like you pick a team and you stick to that team. You know the team in and out. It's a whole different following and college disc golf is even a whole different sport than normal disc golf because you're not rooting for an individual player. You have like a full team of foursome. You know their strengths, their weaknesses.
And there's high quality players, like a lot of your up and comers, like Raven. And like the guys that show up on the pro tour, some of them come from college. Like so it's a good place to find those.
UDisc had a list of notable pros that had come out of college.
Yeah.
And there's a decent amount of them. I do think that
it'll get there eventually.
One thing we used to do on Grip Locked every single weekend, going back like a year plus ago when we were more involved in the college disc golf scene, is we did have a college disc golf segment that we covered it week in and week out. Yeah. This year we didn't do it because there wasn't a college disc golf season because of COVID, obviously.
Right, yeah.
The whole disc golf world obviously got mixed up. But this upcoming August, when normal season starts, I am going to be including collegiate disc golf back, like the tournaments and results, so we can hopefully be a part of the solution of
maybe we just got to
storylines.
lead the charge, get more involved with college disc golf.
We'll start developing the storyline and stuff because obviously when we used to cover it, Grip Locked was maybe a fourth of the size it is now.
Right.
So I think that we could be one of the leading charges of letting you develop these stories and stuff so that when Nationals rolls around, you already know so much about like, oh, well, Ferris has been having a dominant season this year. Right. And there's a lot of like logistical stuff that's got to be worked out, like conferences, qualification process, and stuff like that.
The number one problem really is that other than literally Liberty, I think they're the only one. Everybody else is a self-governed club.
No. Ferris State has, not only does Ferris State have an actual coach, Leonard, they also have scholarships.
Okay, so how many is there though? How many club sports teams is there?
I would say four.
3 or 4 out of the hundreds, probably.
Out of probably like 170. Another issue too is college disc golf doesn't rotate, and it's always located on the East Coast because it's so close to us. So a lot of the good teams on the West Coast, like Oregon, it was a huge effort for Oregon to get here. And you also, the first time Oregon ever saw any team they're going to see in collegiate nationals was at nationals.
Right. It's. I will say like it's tough, and as much as I like feel pretty meh about the NCAA, there's got to be some kind of governing body that can get it's got to get funded by the schools more, because the thing is too, when it's being self-governed, like when those guys who are running the clubs passionately graduate and move on, like it's hard teams can just dissolve. And
it's similar to an actual disc golf club. Like when you have a president of a disc golf club who is great with the community, has a lot of local ties, does a lot with courses and stuff like that, and then they decide to step away and move on.
Right.
It's really hard to replace that person. There's always just a few years of like,
Yeah, it's kind of up to the schools to start adding them. In there, really.
I'll make a Bill's shirt.
Nice. Anyways,
I'll sell it next to the clock shirts.
Now that we got to actually make those. But yeah, I think it's like, because it's so weird. Like we are like the very small minority with our disc golf experience, to where everything is like funded and governed by like the school, to where a lot of teams like aren't even allowed to use their school's logos. And
NC State. What the heck?
There's a lot of schools like that. I mean, I noticed.
I felt bad for them because they would always talk about it, and they had to be like I forget what it was, but basically they like NC State made them where they couldn't use their logos on their polos. They couldn't run NC State stamped discs anymore. Yeah. It was weird. Which now I think there's a course going in at NC State. I think they might have turned it around a little bit, but
once colleges like accept disc golf in as like a real sport in their programs, like that's when you'll really start to see it grow, I think.
Because that was one thing is we were able to, like, our club sports program did provide us with backing in the fact of, like, we were able to have transportation provided. We were able to have uniforms provided. We were able to have, heck, even Prodigy sponsored the team to where we were able to have, like, team bags.
Well, the transportation alone is
that's the big
one.
thing.
Yeah.
Because Oregon, like, they had to self-fund flights to get across the country.
And a lot of them, a lot of teams like are just like, we had like lodging too.
Oh, we also had like prioritized scheduling, so our classes didn't we were able to get our classes
And
exactly how we needed it.
To
We
be
also
fair,
were
at
able
our
to
school,
get
the club sports program is run like so big. It's like a D3, NCAA
'cause
program.
heck, you were even able to like easily get out of classes, whereas other
Yeah.
schools would be like, our best player couldn't make it because his
You had
capstone.
a test, or whatever.
Yeah. It's definitely something that.
And we even had an indoor practice facility.
Well, that was just football. That was just the football.
We were
team.
allowed to use it,
But we got to use it.
We were able to use it. It was very sick. But I think you're
We're
right.
so spoiled. Everybody hates us right now. All the
I know.
all the college players hate us right now.
Liberty's already a meme in college disc golf just because our bus got stuck before either of y'all, even before I came to school. We've been a meme for years, but regardless, I think you're right. A big part of it isn't even anything college disc golf itself can control.
Yeah.
It's like the schools getting funding. Clemson was very close to being on that club sports list.
Yeah.
I think they were like one of the next schools coming in when I was out.
They're
there.
like the most consistent club besides like us and Ferris State.
Yeah. Ferris, though, was the first club. Ferris practices indoors. I'm pretty sure they have school transportation and they have scholarships.
When you win
So like you can and there's a school in Tennessee that has scholarships
When
now.
you win enough titles, it speaks for itself. Like schools love having national titles and things.
Yeah. But that's what I'm saying is like, Liberty is probably the bigger example of like the club sport and like whatever, but no one was on scholarship at Liberty. There are schools now.
I don't know what you're talking about, man. I was getting paid a hefty sum to be there.
I mean, what a waste of money there was.
I was a 5-star blue chip recruit.
They saw that 870 rated 14-year-old Trevor and they just were licking their chops.
They saw the potential, he just never went anywhere.
But no, like, I mean, to think of being a high schooler and getting offered, like, I don't think it's a full ride, but some type of scholarship because of how good you are at disc golf.
Scholarship, the whole scholarship
That's
thing.
amazing.
Yeah, I mean, you might get some money, but like, I mean, other than like football and
I
basketball,
think it was like a $20,000 a year. I pulled that number out of nowhere, but I'm fairly positive.
Cannot be correct.
I'm almost positive. It was something big because everyone thought it was like, shoot, I should
there's
have went
like
to Ferris.
pretty big sports programs like volleyball teams, even baseball teams. Like those kids aren't getting full scholarships. Not all of them.
Well, some are. I mean,
Some.
D1.
Listen, I've seen scholarship budgets before. They're a lot worse than you think. Like when kids go to school to play sports and they say they're on scholarship, some of them are barely getting anything.
Well, I know that because I've had friends who played on certain teams. I won't say it.
Football,
but I've had friends play on certain teams.
Football
and they're
gets like
on scholarship.
Yeah, football might get have 50 or 60 full rides in their budget, whereas baseball might have 3.
Yeah.
And like those full rides, they can either give them the kids or split them up amongst their entire team.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah, I know because like some people were talking about like what they got for their
and that's
their
at a
scholarship,
D1
and I was
school.
like, to be honest with you, you might have been better like declining that and just getting like tuition grants.
Right,
and stuff.
yeah.
Like I got like some Virginia tuition grant and like all this other stuff. And I was like, I think I'm getting more scholarship than you. When it's all said and done.
But you know what? You can't put a price on those sick pullovers they're gonna give you.
I would have sold my soul. Not
and those
actually.
dope backpacks they get to carry.
I would have
around.
done a heck of a lot to be able to get some Liberty basketball merch, or even heck, if I went to Duke and I could get some Duke basketball like sweatpants.
If you've seen those recruiting visits, man, you show up, they put you in the full uniform, take the fancy pictures, like it.
I would
Recruiting
pay.
is a science.
I don't know if there's a number that I would pay to have full Duke basketball gear. It'd be a lot.
Where are you gonna wear it? Like when are you?
Nowhere. I just want it. I just want
Sick.
it. Yeah. I'll sleep in it. I'll sleep in my JJ Redick.
I don't
jersey.
have any desire to have like a full uniform. Like I'll
No,
have
I don't need the uniform. I'm saying like the sweats, the official hoodies.
Yeah, that
like,
stuff's cool. Yeah.
Yeah, like
Let's say,
like an equipment manager.
right.
The backpack that says Duke basketball. I could have done a lot with that. All right, it's time for the fan favorite segment of Trevor's Trivia. What you got for me today, Trevor?
All right.
That segment went so many different places.
College disc
so
golf is
fast.
an interesting topic, man.
It
There's
is
a
for
lot
sure.
to be said about college disc golf because it's not on a lot of people's radar, but it exists. All right, so I found another really cool article by UDisc. They do some really cool stuff with their data. And this one was cool because they had 2 lists. This is written in January, so think of this data as of January. They had the top 10 earners of all time in disc golf, but then they adjusted it for inflation. And I thought that was really cool. It doesn't completely shake things up all the way.
Because disc golf's not that old yet.
But, there were a lot of people that got bumped up spots. The same 10 people are in the list, but a few people got shifted around. So I'm gonna see if you can how many you can name in that top 10 first, and then I want you to try and give it. Once you know the top 10, I want you to try and adjust it for inflation.
Paul's number 1.
Paul is number 1.
Ken Climo's in there.
He's number 2.
Ricky's got to be in there.
Number 3.
I'm pretty sure I saw Discraft make a post where Yuli had snuck in there.
Yuli's number 7.
Okay. Past that, this is where it gets tough. Because you would think like maybe a player like Nico, who's been on
Nico's
tour for
in
so
there.
long.
Number 6.
See, this is how you play these games. You
Yeah.
just throw out an idea.
I want to help you.
Yeah. Let's say you think a player like Nico.
Well, you're
you
missing-
could also think like a Barry Schultz.
Number 4.
And man, the older guys are gonna be the tough ones. Because like Nate Doss, I feel like didn't tour enough.
He's number 9 though.
Frick that, he did.
There's 2 names. You're missing one name that you probably could get, and then there's 2 more names that you're probably not going to get. They're pretty tough. They're definitely very notable players.
Tell me the era they played in.
So one of them is
like, do they still play today?
Number 5 on this list does not play anymore. Well, he doesn't tour at least, and he is a world champ. And he's had his name on a disc, and he's number 5 on this list, so he's pretty high up there.
He's a world champ.
I think he's a one-time world champ.
Oh, is it Avery Jenkins?
No, good guess though.
Dave Feldberg.
Dave.
He does still play. I saw him at Waco.
But he doesn't tour all over the place.
Maybe not, but yeah, he was at Waco.
So then the last 2, one of them is kind of an OG disc golfer, doesn't play anymore, actually owns a disc golf business.
Steve Rico.
There's number 8. And the last guy does still play. And actually this year is having a good season, although he's kind of like not an old timer, but a guy who's just been around a long time, but he's having a good season this year. Really smooth player.
Kale LaVisca?
Yeah.
He's on the top 10.
$266,000 career
for him.
earnings. So now that you know the top 10 is Paul, Kenny, Ricky, Barry, Dave, Nico, Yuli, Steve Rico, Nate Doss, and Kale LaVisca. Now, adjusted for inflation, now give me your list.
Paul's still number 1.
He's not.
Ken Climo's number 1.
Ken Climo, Ken Climo.
How did they adjust this for inflation? Someone went in and like his winnings from 1990 started the inflation there, like they did every year.
Yeah. It's not that hard. You just go year by year. So Ken Climo made $435,452 in total. Adjusted for inflation, it's $619,417.
Was Paul's adjusted for inflation too?
Yeah.
Okay.
But it's not. Paul's adjustment bumps him up like $40K.
But what is it too? How like
$552,000. So he's actually
pretty far behind.
Pretty far behind, yeah. Shows how dominant Climo was, really. Like that's
I guess he did win 12 Worlds.
Yeah, he did.
So that would make 15 if you include his 3 Masters.
Yeah. So
Well, I'm already.
The other list, remember, was Paul, Kenny, Ricky, Barry, Dave, Nico. That was how it started. Now this one you started with Kenny and then Paul.
Kenny, Paul.
So your old the other 3 was Ricky.
Now, before I can't ask that question because then I can just do math. I think I'm gonna go Barry.
Correct. Barry has adjusted for inflation. Barry goes up about 113,000 to 529,000 career earnings.
Sheesh. I'm gonna stick with Ricky next.
It's not. It's actually
Idiot. Why would I do that?
It's Feldberg. Feldberg jumps Ricky.
Oh, wow.
See, he would be at 507,000 adjusted.
So then Ricky's after.
Ricky would be next, but he's at 460 adjusted for inflation.
Oh, so it's not even.
He's well behind as well.
What
twice.
other older players are past that?
So your last players left are Nico, Yuli, Rico, Doss, and Kale. There's only one more switch. So
it's got to be Rico bumping up.
Yep.
So he jumps to the next spot on the list.
No.
It's Yuli next. No. I'm lost where I'm at.
It goes Nico at 6, and then Rico just jumps Yuli. Honestly, the only thing I was shocked at was that I thought this list was cool was just how crazy Climo's winnings are. Like he's still up 70,000 adjusted for inflation, which is fair because that's the correct number really.
Yeah.
And then Barry having such a commanding lead still on Feldberg and Ricky, and to be fair,
Barry's
still making in money. Yeah, like he still kind of dominates. To be honest,
yeah, Barry's still no joke around the North Carolina scene.
I feel like Barry. I don't know what he made like last year, but I feel like Barry could still make like 20
Can you look
grand.
that up? What did Barry make last year?
I bet he made 20 grand.
And that doesn't even include his beast sales and stuff like that, which obviously none of this does, because then Paul would be way above.
Yeah, if you did disc sales, well,
never mind. I don't know though, because
Climo, man.
Paul would still beat Climo. I'm pretty positive.
Yeah, just because of how much more popular sport.
Well, you also have to think there wasn't really Tour Series discs in Climo's era.
Yeah, but there's so many discs with his name on.
There are, but Tour Series
many
discs are
runs
getting
of
players like
box was
$3 to
there?
$4 per one, and a
You also
signature
gotta-
series getting like
You do also
25
have to
cents to
remember
$1
that back
probably.
then, every single person threw Innova. Like every single guy threw like
also
the
true.
same.
But Paul also had a decent chunk of his career with his name on the most popular Innova discs.
It's true. Yeah, I don't know. Those would be fascinating numbers.
That
but
would
we
be.
would never know.
We'll never know that. Innova, please.
Yeah,
please.
give us the data
We want to know.
for educational purposes.
We won't say it. We won't say it. We would definitely say it.
Connor,
Connor, what are you looking at
talk
here?
to me.
You're talking about like the prize money for tournaments this year?
Last year.
Last year. Okay, so 2020.
Yeah.
I was about to say this year is not.
Yeah, probably hasn't made much.
He
this
probably
year.
made like 6,000 this year.
He made 7,813 last year.
That's it?
Yeah.
How many? Well, okay. Go to 2019
Oh, that's
because it was
because
a
COVID
shortened
year.
season.
Yeah.
Okay.
Fair enough.
2019 is okay. 18,400.
Yeah, right about 20K.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I would imagine he'll be able to kind of
He can still
sustain
do that. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's pretty impressive. For I mean, with how many young guns there are right now.
well, he's staying local.
That's
Yeah.
true.
Most of his tournaments are probably North
He can
Carolina.
still win
That's true.
Open in North Carolina, and if it's a big event,
I mean, he can still. Yeah.
Didn't he just win the Dogwood?
He just went to Masters in Dogwood.
And
That's
he
what
won,
that's what he'll do. Him and
Schwebe.
Taberski and Schwebe. Pretty much these like not old guys,
That
but just
Masters
like
division is brutal.
yeah, the
in
Masters
Carolina.
division. Like if you're not shooting, you got to
They're
be like
close to
10, 20
Open.
rated.
Yeah.
Like they're filthy. I mean, any one of them could go to Open and either win or cash every weekend, but they just know it's
I think
guaranteed.
Barry would have won. He would have won Open, wouldn't he?
He would have been close. Yeah. At one point, he was he had a pretty commanding lead in Open.
Yeah.
If he was in
The
Open.
last event we were at, we're talking about.
Yeah, the Masters. But that's just what they do. And I mean, they're all so good, but they just know like it's more guaranteed money in Masters than if I try playing Open.
Smart guys.
Yeah, I mean, they know what they're doing. That's one thing is like I feel bad for people just getting into the sport that are missing out on like the Barry Schultz, even like I mean, there's just so many like great players.
It's true.
Barry Schultz is the one that I watched the most of just because I watched a lot of North Carolina golf. But I mean,
There's not a lot of footage.
you can name it anywhere.
There's not a lot of footage. There's a lot of footage of him because he stayed active into his older age so
Yeah.
much. And Schwebe.
You gotta dig for Climo.
Kenny, yeah, you can find him out of his prime, but like in his prime, you're barely ever gonna
Yeah,
see.
you gotta find very few. I've never really seen much. But even like the Avery Jenkins, like the good Shoestrick era, like there was a lot of good golf that was played.
Love the good Schuster
the
era.
original, like when Paul and Ricky were both just bursting onto the scene. Like
That's like my
if you've
favorite
never
to
watched
watch.
2014 Worlds, that is the great.
2014 Worlds. Paul's first Worlds is really fun to watch.
2014 is the playoff, right?
Yeah, but 2012 is the year. Like the final card is him, Ricky,
MJ.
Shoestrick, and MJ.
Yeah, I'm talking the 2014 finish.
Yeah, but I mean that's like the greatest event that's ever happened.
That's
but,
what I'm saying. If you've never watched that, that's all I said.
it's
If
true.
you've never watched it, go watch it.
I understand that doesn't really represent the era you're talking about.
No, but that's like when I think of a Paul and Ricky battle, that is the one my mind goes to
that's the
every time.
best one there's ever been.
I think Paul, at one point, Paul said he had to birdie like, was it like 25 his last 27 holes or something like that to win that event?
I remember him going off in like round 7 or whatever heck.
It was something crazy.
They did something so that back
It was
then.
in the Greatness
formats-
documentary, that Paul documentary they did.
Oh, yeah.
He had said how he had to birdie like X amount of the remaining holes to even get into that playoff.
Yeah, he led a charge down
Yeah.
the final stretch.
I mean, that era of Paul with those 4 worlds, every year I feel like every year he was out of it, and then out of nowhere just like course record, and like
Except-
2015 he was on like the 3rd card and then went like course record, and then was up by so much that
Yeah.
the final 9 was just a victory lap.
Right. Yeah.
Like it was ridiculous. You know, that's the type of stuff that I don't think we'll ever see in disc golf again. One player doing it like that.
Probably not.
Yeah.
Probably not.
I mean, one thing I thought was funny is I actually saw a video recently that was shared on Reddit where Ken Climo, Paul, and Dave Feldberg were doing a signing in 2012 before Paul was even a world champion. And the current, at that time, his name was Brian something. He was the PDGA, like the president of the PDGA or the director of the PDGA, whatever that the main title is. He was like introducing this video that was just going to be like a highlight of them doing the signing. And he was like, he introduced Ken Climo as the Tiger Woods of disc golf. And he's like, and next to him is up-and-comer Paul Macbeth. And then we got, a mainstay on tour, Dave Feldberg.
Well, at that point, I mean, Climo in 2012 was still top 10 in the world. Like he hadn't really faded.
Yeah, I
yet.
know. That's what I think.
Yeah.
It's like it's just funny because it was like right before Paul had like become the Tiger Woods of disc golf, and then you have Climo.
Those eras like smoothly transitioned, but yeah, there's no indication of that. Like I don't, with how good the players are right now, like it's very hard to say that somebody could come along. Like the guys winning tournaments right now are shooting almost perfect. So unless there's somebody that comes along that never makes mistakes, like then they're not going to have a stretch like this.
In like 2015,
they might win a couple
Climo's
worlds
era, you could be very, very good, but there was room for you to be great and have a few mistakes to win because it didn't take perfection.
You can't.
What's going on? It didn't take perfection to win, but
you can't
nowadays,
do that right now.
Yeah,
it has to be perfect.
Like if you show up and you slip up a little bit, then Robot Chicken or Calvin Heimberg or
somebody's gonna beat you.
Someone's gonna play perfect that round, pretty much. I mean, not actually perfect, but you know what we're saying.
Close to it.
Yeah.
I mean,
I
15 under.
Yeah. Nowadays, that's why I made that bet at the beginning of the year. That I knew Paul wasn't going to come top 3 every event because it requires too good of golf nowadays.
Yeah.
In 2015, Paul could slip up a little bit and still come in first, second, or third. Nowadays, you slip up a little bit, you're out of the top 10.
Mm-hmm.
And that's golf. It's just we haven't seen that in disc golf very much until now. But every time it happens, even with like Paige, people are like, "Oh well, Paul days are over."
Yeah. The thing is too, though, I will say is like the reason like Tiger Woods and ball golf was able to have that era kind of dubbed the Tiger Woods era. He was not winning the kind of as consistently as Paul was winning in 2015 or whatever, but winning is such a more big deal in ball golf because of how hard it is, because of how many good players are out there. So winning 4 times, 5 times in a season is like you just had a season for the history books.
Well, that's where disc golf's headed.
So yeah, I'm saying like there will be, once we get to that point where we're used to it being so hard to win, it will take less we might feel like somebody's having one of those eras again. It just won't be the same exact thing.
Well, it's like you were just saying at the Masters, who missed the cut? Was it Dustin Johnson?
No, Koepka. And
Brooks
DJ. Koepka and DJ both missed the cut.
So
and Dustin Johnson's the number 1 player in the world.
That's what I'm saying. That's like there being a cut and like literally Ricky and who would Brooks Koepka be? Like Kevin Jones maybe?
Even better. Koepka's been like one of the most dominant. Yeah, like Eagle.
So like Ricky and Eagle both missed the cut.
Right.
And imagine that just not being a storyline.
Yeah, it was
there
like...
might be like an article written about it.
Yeah, it was like it's mentioned, but nobody's like freaking out about it.
Yeah. Whereas like...
That's how competitive it is.
That's what I'm saying. In disc golf, we're not there yet.
Yeah.
If there was a cut, like if Paul and Eagle or Ricky or any of them missed cash in an event,
people would...
Even Eagle at Waco, when he missed cash in an event, everyone's like, hold up.
Right.
Holy crap. What just happened? You know what I mean? Whereas like in ball golf, it's just like, or real golf, whatever you want to call it. That's what they call it. Did you see that article where it said Bryson
people were
DeChambeau
getting all upset about that. It's like, whatever, you know.
Playing, took a break from real golf. But yeah, no, like in golf, that's just a thing.
I mean, they were the first one to name it golf, so they can really do whatever they want.
No, I call it golf and disc golf. If you ever hear me say I went and played around a golf.
If I'm talking to a disc golfer, I will say ball golf. If I'm talking to somebody just in my normal realm of like people that don't play disc golf, I'll just say golf.
I'll call it ball golf, but I will never call disc golf golf, is what I'm saying.
No.
Like I'm never going to say I'm going to go play around a golf.
It's never going to be the more mainstream sport. I mean, maybe hundreds of years from now.
Yeah, we won't be alive.
Yeah, so, yeah.
But
anyways.
I definitely think that the parity in the sport is something that...
It's getting there.
It's getting to where...
It's getting really good. This is what we wanted.
In 2015, if you saw a Paul McBeth 10th place finish...
Like,
you would have been like, holy cow, something happened.
Yeah.
2021, you see a Paul McBeth 10th place or even a Ricky 10th place finish.
It's not that big of a deal.
Like even at the Vintage Open, we mentioned it. We're like, man, he was on a hot streak. He just came in 7th and was that far out of the lead. All right, on to the next topic. Like it's not a main storyline.
Right.
That's just the parity because that just speaks to how good the rest of the field's got.
It is so hard to win right now.
Which is amazing.
Yeah.
I don't know. We've always debated which one's better.
It makes it. I think it makes it's more fun to root for guys too when it's so hard to win because then when they finally do win, it's that much sweeter.
So I think the parity is better for for fans in the sport. I think domination is better for outside exposure.
Probably
because there's gonna be storylines about Eagle going on a 6-win streak.
Yeah.
That might reach outside the sport, whereas if Calvin wins, then Eagle, then Paul, then Ricky, that's better inside the sport because it's like, oh my word, who's going to win? Who's going to win?
Yeah.
But no one outside the sport cares. Regardless, let's look at Jonesboro and try to predict who's going to win. So this is the first spectated event. Well, Let's put a little quotations on that, because some of these events have had spectators, but they've been very limited, which this might actually still be limited. You had to pay to read the rest of the article. So actually, while I talk about this, Connor, can you see if you can find how many spectators are allowed at Jonesboro?
Yeah.
Because the article that we looked at was under a paid subscription that we don't have. So we couldn't see it.
Pro journalists.
Yeah. But I know like Memorial had said no spectators, but then like people came to the park because you could be a park goer.
Right.
And like
these are like the first like endorsed spectators.
Yeah, this is the first like the
tour.
event. I think it's a phase 2 event, I believe, which in my mind, if I remember correctly, means that spectators are able to basically buy a pass and be put with a card.
Yeah.
So like there's this amount of spectators and you're sticking to this card.
Yeah.
And you get assigned to that card and you're not allowed to leave that card. So it's a very controlled environment.
Yeah.
But regardless, it's going to be the first time that on camera and talked about there's spectators, which paid spectators only $10 a day, $20 for a weekend pass, or $75 for a VIP pass.
You get a disc.
Get you a disc and the ability to walk along the course following players, along with a couple other small perks. So I'd imagine the like $10 a day is more of the like they assign you, and the $75 give you a little more freedom.
Right.
Something like that.
Maybe you get like first dibs on whichever card you want, and then if it fills up, you got to change or something like that.
Maybe.
Which is $10 is reasonable. Like,
and Pro Worlds is also a ticketed event. I saw a headline where they'd sold out of half the tickets, but again, didn't really say how many that half the tickets were.
No, I saw something. Go ahead, Connor.
So it basically says like if we allow spectators. So they're not even sure yet if they're going to open up spots for spectators.
Jonesboro?
Yeah.
When was that written?
This is written a long time ago.
I was gonna say they definitely are allowing them.
There's a news.
This is
on
JonesboroOpen.com.
Oh,
So
okay.
I don't know why they wouldn't have some. This says categorized as latest news.
Okay, well, if they would have allowed it, what was the numbers? Because they are allowing it now.
They didn't even say yet. It just says they might open up tickets, but before that, it was just volunteers and staff will be allowed outside of the zones, but the AM players will only be allowed to watch other than volunteers and staff. And
Interesting.
and they would have to stay within 3 different zones. And in zone one, you can see hole 1, 2, 9, 10, and 18. And then from hole 2, you can see hole 4 and 5, and zone 3.
Okay.
So
they're doing it instead of following a group. It is like zones.
yeah, you're not unless you're a volunteer or staff, you're not allowed to follow.
So
Pro Worlds.
Yeah, if you found the same thing.
Yeah, so Pro Worlds, they said they've sold about 500 of the 1,000 spectator passes they have.
$50 a pop.
$50 a person.
Pretty good.
So they've sold 500 of those.
They'll sell out.
They will sell out,
Once it gets
especially
closer.
as it gets closer.
Nobody knows about that really.
Yeah, I mean, Ultra just put out that article. So it's going to be spectators. It sounds like it's going to be more like little zones, a little bit different than what we're used to seeing.
That's
but
a smart way to do it, though.
Yeah, it's an easy way to control the environment, make sure the players are safe, make sure the spectators are safe, and make sure that people can watch golf, disc golf.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's definitely an exciting thing. And it brings up the question, paid spectating, we've seen it in the past, but we haven't seen it across the board. So I know Ledgestone has done this. They've also had like paid parking type things. USDGC has done it. Worlds has done it on and off. We obviously see it this year again. Events have done it, but is this like a standard thing in the future? Like, is this the next step that disc golf's taking?
No, it definitely is. Now, the thing about disc golf is a lot of times when the events are being held in public parks, it can be hard to regulate a little bit. But it's obviously easy for anything that's under complete control by the event, whether they have the park, rented out.
I'm pretty sure the Pro Tour doesn't do events unless they have full control nowadays.
Okay, so in that case, then it shouldn't be that.
I think that was the whole issue with
that was
Memorial.
the whole Memorial issue, right? Because they couldn't do that. So I think they probably did that thinking they wanted to switch to this model, because they're working hard and putting a lot of money into this product, and the players are all doing the same thing. So to watch it, you should be expected to pay a little bit of money. It's not that crazy. They're not asking for a lot. You want to go for a day? $10, not a big deal. You get to watch what is now like a good product. These are the best players in the world. They're touring around the country, and
well,
I think it makes sense.
A good way to get some extra either added cash or just funding.
You're helping the sport out.
Because I think, to be honest with you, I've considered this a few different times, and I'm pretty sure the battle for Bedford is going to be a $5 a head or $5 a car to watch type of event.
Right.
Like where, because parking's gonna be limited.
Yeah, it helps you also.
It helps you.
Yeah, it helps you keep a cap, right? So you know how many
Which
people
that's
to
very
expect.
important with COVID too.
Yeah.
But we'll probably do like some type of like, when you show up, there's gonna be someone there. You got to pay $5 to get into park, and then your whole car can watch the event type thing. But I definitely think that this is the future. I think the Pro Tour, I would imagine this is a regular thing. Like there's one. I think it seems weird because we haven't had spectators.
Right.
I think this was already a pretty regular.
Yeah, and it's just like it's one of those things where it's just like kind of a no-brainer. It's not a big deal.
Yeah,
like,
if you show up to an event, it's almost weird beforehand showing up and not paying.
It's not gonna be super costly. Like
no.
It's not a big deal.
Some events might. I mean, $50 for Worlds, but still, that's $50 you have to watch the whole World Championships.
That's like going to the Super Bowl. Like that is like the biggest event. So yeah.
I mean, I think that these like a VIP pass type thing will eventually be probably a few $100 and stuff like that. And well, VIP pass, I'm assuming like that gets you like a meet and greet player.
It's going to depend on what kind of amenities they can provide. But like this is everywhere in sports.
I do think that like the next step though, I'm assuming that this is already a regular thing. So I don't really think this is the next step, the paid spectator. I do think the next step is stricter regulation on the spectators.
Crowd control.
So well, more so the separation of spectators and players.
Right.
So where like if you went, like imagine going to the Masters, right? Because that's like our Worlds almost. Not really, but kind of.
Sure.
USDGC, we'll use USDGC in the Masters.
Yeah.
Imagine going there and you're just walking up to spectate the first hole and you're walking literally this close to Tiger Woods.
Right.
And you're just like, oh my word. Like, hey, of course I'm going to be like, Tiger, can you sign this? And he's walking tee off on hole 1.
Yeah.
That will happen in disc golf more times than not with Paul, Ricky, Eagle. Even at Ledgestone did a great job of like roping off the warm-up area and the tee area.
USDGC does that too.
But then there's a space in between.
They got to rope paths. So like the fans can line up, they can, try to get a high five or whatever.
Yeah, because then
like,
the player's decision to like stop and sign stuff.
It's up to them.
And they can just put their head down and walk if they want. And it's not like hey, I'm literally tapping you on the shoulder like, hey, Paul. Like I'm just standing. I'm just standing now I'm just standing there and I'm like holding something out. And if you sign it, great. If you don't, great. Because then and that also adds to the prestige of the event. Yeah. Because now I feel like I'm there to watch something. It also makes it more special when I do meet the player. Yeah. Because right now it's
not
like
that difficult either.
No.
Just put up some ropes.
Put up ropes. You already got. I mean, USDGC just
borrow
some
of
from
them,
the course. You got 15 miles of it out there.
Right.
Just put some. Well, theirs is a little harder to control because they're warming up.
Pretty far away.
Probably a quarter mile away from hole 1.
Yeah, not that far.
No, it's like all the way down and around though, so you'd have to. But it also would help with crowd control, like not necessarily these zones like they're doing for Jonesboro as a long-term solution, but having like spectators follow like this specific path and then you can't go into the woods type thing because that gets way too crowded, and then like you catch them back up when they come out here, whatever. Yeah. I don't know. I think crowd control is the next step. Yeah. Because whenever there's a first like we're fully back open, we allow anyone who can come, and it's a major. It's like USDGC or World. I mean, there's a chance that there's 5,000 to 10,000 people that are coming to watch it. Question is, will the event be ready for that many people to show up?
Yeah, and it's going to depend on the courses too, and there's just going to have to be like a different strategy to attack each course. Like they're just going to need to hire somebody who's just an expert at crowd control who can like look at each course and plot out like this is where we can, like there are people that's their jobs like logistics wise. Yeah. And like they just need to know like, okay, these are the places we need to keep people away from. These are spots that are going to be really important, and like just figure it out ahead of time and have a plan, and then it shouldn't be a problem. Yeah. Like, I don't think disc golf fans are that rowdy that they're going to be hard to control as long as you make it very clear where they need to be and have enough volunteers.
The biggest thing is, like, if you show up without enough volunteers and you have, like, one guy doing crowd control. Right. And then
people will wander.
There's that, like, in disc golf, there's, like, this gap, right? There's the players with their caddies, and then there's, like, the media of, like, Jomez and, like, the official media. And then there's like the social media and like family crowd that the issue with that is they're like in front, and I've been a part of this group where you're that social media type crowd that you're like doing stories for players or important stuff, but not super important, right? And you're like this inside line, and then there's the actual crowd control people. And what happens a lot of times is this inside line of family, social media people, whatever they may be, the crowd will start coming up to them. But then you're trying to get stories and stuff, so you have to get closer. and then the crowd comes up to you.
Right.
To where like halfway through the round, sometimes like you're getting yelled at almost because it's like you need to like stay up next to the players, but you can't get too close because you can't.
Yeah.
There's rules that you can't be in front of Jomez, obviously, because they're the ones filming, or even the live cameras can't be in front of them. So there is something where like there needs to be a physical barrier type of a thing. Some tournaments have used rope, that works great, but something where spectators have a visual. Because if you just see like me and I'm wearing just a green shirt and I got a badge on, but from the back you can't see my badge, you're just like, oh, let's walk up here. You know what I mean? And the next thing you know, you're 10 feet from the players during their round, and that's where disc golf crowd can get out of control. But it's not like they're yelling and like tapping players on the shoulder, asking them stuff.
Right.
It doesn't get that far. It's just that they can get too close to where if a player needs to go back and like get something from their bag, there's like a crowd around it now type thing. I don't know. It can get weird for sure. But let's look at some predictions. Who do you have on the MPO side taking down Jonesboro this weekend?
So I I'm going completely generic because I think this course plays not super tricky. So I think it's pretty simple to just go with the best players in the world. So I'm literally just going to go Paul, Ricky, Calvin. Because
amateur picks.
I think Jonesboro just kind of plays true. And I know you're going to pick Kevin Jones, but I'm here to tell you Kevin Jones is not good.
And I'm here to tell you I'm not picking Kevin Jones.
Okay, good. Thank
I'm
goodness.
going Paul, Ricky, Calvin. I'm just kidding. I am going Calvin taking it down. I think he goes back to back. This was the site of like a big Calvin and Paul. Like this is one of Calvin's like big wins last year.
Yeah, true.
I vividly remember that one putt he had like in the woods that somehow like
so sick.
He hit that like tree branch, but it didn't matter.
And then
He just like willed it in.
Whatever.
Yeah, it was sick. I do think Paul's going to come in second. He seems to do pretty well here in general. And then this third pick, I was influenced by these Twitter accounts who've been doing a bunch
Stat War.
Yeah, so there's like I think it was like Stat Mando and like
so you're
PDGA
gonna pick
Stats.
Yuli?
I'm going Yuli.
Yeah.
Because they put out a stat where they were saying like it's so hard to beat a 52 at the Jonesboro course. Like one of them said. The other one quote tweeted it and was like, well, that is true, but Yuli's also shot a 52 like the last 3 years and is coming like 5th, 6th. And I feel like Yuli's having one of his like best years of his
He's
career
having a
this
good
year.
season, yeah.
So I'm like, if he's already comfortable at this course and is already doing that in the previous years,
Fair enough.
I think he sneaks into the top 3.
Hey.
And if not,
Bold choice.
blame the Twitter accounts.
Okay.
Don't
Blame
actually.
the stats. Numbers
No,
lie.
I'm owning this. Paul Ulibarri, top 3 at Jonesboro. That is a Trevor Stop guarantee. FPO, who do you have taking it down here?
FPO, so I thought about this one because obviously Paige won by like 13 strokes last year. And I've tried to decide if Paige is just completely swallowed up by the pressure, but I think what I decided is after this latest ratings drop where she went to 977, I think she's low enough now away from the 1,000 rated that she's gonna play like she is, like she's gonna finally be maybe angry, maybe play like she has nothing to lose again. And I think this is I'm gonna pick her now because if she stinks this week, she may never play good disc golf again because I don't know what has happened to her. But I'm gonna pick her to win because I think if she's gonna have a breakout week, it's gonna be here where she's so dominant last year. I'm gonna pick Sarah Hokum in second. It might be close. She's been playing really well lately. And then Kona is going to sneak in a third.
Yeah. So I agree with Paige Pierce on this one. And I literally just looked it up on Instagram, if you're wondering why I was on my phone, because I wanted to make sure I got this right. So first off, it looks like both of us are idiots for not picking Double G, because he's also on this stat. He's come in 2017, didn't play the event.
I will take Paul, Ricky, and Calvin over Double G 100 out of 100 times.
He went second place in 2018, second place in 2019, third place in 2020. It is a bomber course.
I don't care.
I'm not changing my pick. I'm just I was looking at this graphic because the reason I picked Paige Pierce is 2017, first. 2018, first. 2019, first. 2020, first by 13.
Yeah, it's difficult not to.
Like, this is clearly an event that plays really well to her strengths, being pretty much distance and like there is danger and you have to like shape them, but you're shaping distance shots. You're not shaping putters through the woods. Yeah. So I've got to go Paige here, but I agree with you. This could be a troubling event if somehow she doesn't win.
If she doesn't even like, if she places like outside the top 5, like she's been like playing bad, like
yeah,
I don't know what's gonna happen to Paige.
I'm going Haley King second because I also
pick.
think this is a somewhat good course for her. She has a massive forehand. Also, she can throw distance with the top of them, the best of them. I honestly think that like one of Haley King's things is just like has been decision making, and she has said that before on the course,
right?
Making the right shot decisions and stuff like that. If she can do that, I think this weekend she comes in second. Katrina Allen, she's in my top 3 every week.
Pretty much.
I kind of feel bad for Kat because I never pick her to win. I always pick her in like second
Well,
or
she
third.
doesn't win a lot.
And 9 times out of 10, I'm right.
Yeah, like she doesn't really win a
She's
lot.
always in there. She doesn't.
She hangs around though.
She's kind of like Sexton used to be, where if you're picking a top 10 and you put Nate Sexton at 6th place, you were right 8 times out of 10.
Yeah.
Like he was never winning, but he was never out of it. He was just always.
Because he plays that Sexton golf, man.
He was always there. Really quick, I want to do our dark horse picks. Then I want to come back to a question. So dark horse pick for this week. Coffee on the line. We're going with last week's winner. What is your dark horse pick first? Please tell me it's not the same as mine.
Ooh, but I get to choose first though.
Yeah, you're picking first. So.
I'm going. It's probably not the same. I'm going with Michael Mayo.
Okay, I think it's Mayo.
It's got to be Mayo. Sure.
Okay, well it's spelled
M-A-Y-O.
like Cinco de Mayo, so.
It's also spelled like mayonnaise.
It's also spelled like Mayo.
Okay, well.
I don't know. He has a
I
YouTube
didn't-
channel, Michael.
We'll have
That's
to
the only
look
way I
it
know
up.
him.
Yeah, so I'm going with him. He is 986.
And he's in
rated.
Arkansas, local.
That's why
I
I'm
almost
choosing
picked
him.
him.
He's Arkansas. He lives like 2.5 hours from.
Oh, you went
the
deep.
course.
You went to Google Maps. On
I
him.
just looked up how far away is.
What's his house like?
How far away is Conway? I literally googled how far away is Conway from Jonesboro.
Nice.
And he has been like at the Vintage Open. He placed higher than a lot of people who are rated better than him. So.
All right, I get to
Good
pick
pick.
second.
I almost picked him, and then I saw one of my good buddies in there.
I'm going with my boy from Clemson. He's been riding it out on the road.
Sam.
He's been grinding it out. Sam Drummond. He's had some great finishes. He's cashed at like 2.
I really want
top
to.
tier
I really want to
events.
see him play again because like he was a good college disc golfer, but he was not as good as he had been playing.
That's what I'm
on
saying.
Tour.
He's
is
been
killing
popping
it.
off. I mean, I can almost taste the horchata latte. I'm gonna make one of you buy me next week. Sam,
All
I'm
right.
riding your back to the finale.
Well, you guys are ridiculous because there's only one real winner here, and his name is Mason Marchbanks. Mason Marchbanks, I've never even met this guy in real life. I only know him through a mutual friend, but I sent him my old flat top glow gator
He's gonna ride that thing to victory.
this year, and he was begging me for it for so long. I finally sent it to him, and I just know he's gonna be tossing it all over Jonesboro. If it's even in his bag, I'm pretty sure it is because he begged me for it. But
He probably got it in and hated it.
he's 993 rated, and that's my pick, man. Mason Marchbanks.
There's our 3. Who will win? Who will win? We will see.
I'm just trying to okay. I'm just trying not to come in last again, to be honest.
Yeah, honestly. I mean, I'm a little salty I didn't get it. I mean, the rating thing was fair.
It makes complete sense.
It does. I just didn't
The
like
coffee's pretty good, by the way.
it. Nice.
Nice.
Shout out
See
to
if I
Third
don't
Wave.
Spill it. I'll be shouting out.
It's my brother's company. I can shout him out if I want. This is my podcast. I am a co-host. I choose the shout out. Really quick, I want to bring up an interesting point that a guy by the name of Silas Schultz. So Brody Smith, everyone knows Brody Smith. I don't know why I use the last name. Brody had a debate night last night on his Instagram. Always a good time. Always interesting to listen to. He was also teasing hopefully him starting a podcast, which he's talked about multiple times.
Yeah,
But
eventually it'll happen, I'm sure.
completely unrelated to what I'm about to say. He brought Silas Schultz on, and Silas's hot take was
Silas, if you're listening to this, man, just give me a follow back on Instagram. That'd be great. All right, go ahead.
Silas's hot take was based on Paige, and basically was saying like this was her best shot at getting 1,000 rated.
Yeah.
Because of what he called Rona ratings,
I love that.
which I
first
have
of
never
all.
thought of this. So basically, his point, which is so valid,
Yeah.
is the coronavirus like shutdown of disc golf tournaments and everything gave players a clean slate.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, if you were getting better, and I took advantage of it. That's how I got to almost 990 when everyone who watches me play knows I'm not a 990
Yeah, I
rated
was
player.
at like 960 for a month.
And we were all
It was
wondering,
awesome.
like, how the heck did this happen? The Rona ratings.
Rona ratings,
How did we
man.
not think of this? We should make shirts of this. We're gonna make shirts of this.
I
and
don't
we
want to
put-
make it. I don't
No.
want to profit off of a pandemic.
No. So the Rona ratings, what he's saying is basically like you had all this time where you didn't play. So then when you first start playing, there's less history.
Right.
So it's not like there's 30 rounds counted. It's like your most recent 8.
Yeah.
So it's truer to what you are right then. So he was saying like this was her best shot at getting to 1,000.
She had a really good hot streak before Corona, and those are the
Yeah.
only rounds being counted.
Exactly. And then she came out pretty
Yeah.
hot. She
Super
got the
valid.
996.
Super valid point,
he
and
was saying,
he's
like-
absolutely correct.
Yeah, so he's like, and now that she's dropped to 977, which she has,
Hit us with the hot take.
he was like, I don't like. It's gonna take her a long time to be able to get back to 1,000 rated. And he said that
Here's the hot take.
he said he thinks that Paige doesn't even believe she's gonna get 1,000 rated. I don't agree with that one.
I thought you said that his hot take was that he doesn't think she's ever going to get it.
Oh, he doesn't think. He thinks the first woman that gets to 1,000 rated is not gonna be Paige. He thinks someone else will. But that's not what
I'm starting to believe him.
But he did make a good point. We talked about it last week of like, why release the 996 rated disc if like you think you're gonna get to 1,000?
Yeah,
that was his whole point.
I don't know. I think she still believes she can do it.
It could be Discraft was like, hey, you broke the ratings thing. We thought you were gonna get to 1,000. This is probably not how the conversation went. We thought you're gonna get to 1,000. It's clear you're not going to. We need to drop this like a week before, because it was literally a week on the day before the ratings update came out. We need to get this out of here before, because she was the highest rated woman of all time. If you look it up, Paige Pierce, 996. Yeah. That was the record. So I think it was more like a Discraft, like, hey, we need to make these discs. We were holding them to see if you got to 1,000. You didn't. We need to make it. Let's do it.
Here's what I'll say. If he has a really good point, the whole like Rona ratings thing, completely valid. The whole Paige will never get to 1,000 rated. If she comes out to Jonesboro this weekend and averages like 1030 like she did last time, then I'm going to be like, no, she probably can.
Well, yeah, it's going to get harder and harder.
I agree though. Like, and like, I think Paige is probably like, she's in her prime. She's at the peak of her career. So if she had a bad stretch though, and she was so close. Like, I don't know, but like bad stretches are part of golf too. So like
the hard part to me is like,
it might be
this was her best shot. I agree with him there.
I think she might be able to do it still, but yeah, it's gonna be really difficult now.
Because now she's almost back rating wise to like, I think it was like August of last year or something before then.
I think yeah, but then there's like ratings inflation too though, to where like naturally ratings are gonna get higher. I don't even want to dive into it, but his points were valid.
Inflation goes up like 2 to 3 points a year.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like that. So that's years and years.
She probably won't.
I'm just saying for other players that are getting good right now. But yeah, he's got good points. I will say that.
Yeah, the Rona ratings. I mean, I'm ticked. Valid. I didn't think of that.
Yeah,
because that's genius.
Smart.
Something that someone emailed us that is a very interesting topic as we look at different events in disc golf. We've talked about outside money in disc golf, right? How important it is.
Yeah.
Do you remember who emailed us this first?
I am not 100% sure. I might have to double check and like throw in a credit somewhere in the comments.
Yeah.
But basically, he emailed and asked about the idea of crowdfunding in disc golf, and I'll just kind of explain what he was talking about. But I thought this was interesting because we always talk about getting more money in the sport, and we talk about outside people. But hey, what about inside people? And obviously, we all fund the sport by participating in it and buying discs and
right now
doing tournaments and all that.
Money in disc golf goes in a circle.
Well, yeah, exactly. Yeah. So the idea of crowdfunding esports is a big example that has used crowdfunding. There's 2 different schools of thought. You could say, well, we could use crowdfunding. What crowdfunding is basically people that are involved in the sport. It's almost like a GoFundMe or a Kickstarter sort of thing. You're just like, it's like donating money to make something happen that you want to see happen. We've seen Kickstarter be really successful within disc golf. People see a product within disc golf that they want to happen. They are clearly willing to invest in it. So there's 2 ways that could be used in disc golf. Number one, the more simple solution, and what the guy in the email was proposing was like, I think what he was proposing was like added cash for tournaments.
Yeah.
What if they opened up crowdfunding? If they opened up crowdfunding to Worlds and say, hey guys, let's get disc golf on the map. Let's make the purse for Worlds crazy. Everybody just contribute what you can. I don't doubt that they could raise $1 million.
Oh yeah, because you could easily do like, if you donate X amount, you get a commemorative disc. If you donate $10, you get a commemorative T-shirt. To where you're throwing $3 in on a T-shirt, you get $7.
Even without a reward, if you were just like, hey, just throw a few bucks in there, like I don't doubt that a copious amount of money
I'd
could
throw
be
money
raised.
at it.
Right, like I'd chuck in a few bucks, like sure, like. So that's one school of thought is like, hey, like let's just like get these events, like let's open them up to crowdfunding. The only thing about that is it's kind of like, you could argue like, yeah, it's good to help get disc golf on the map, but it's kind of a little like unprofessional.
It's not sustainable.
Right, and it's not sustainable. Where crowdfunding is really used and valuable is to like fund an idea or an organization to help the sport as a total. So like if everybody in disc golf is like, man, if we could just afford to do this, put on this program or have this organization, it could really help the sport. That's where like crowdfunding I think could be more in use. But I'm curious like to discuss this one in the comments, and maybe we'll be able to talk about it on another episode because we're kind of running out of time. And there's kind of a, like I never even considered this, but it was a really good point because like, yeah, I mean, could you imagine like crowdfunding for a World's purse? Like so much money. We would blow the purse record out of the water because you'd already have the added money they were going to get. And then people would donate. People would donate because like they'd want to see it happen. And as it picked up traction and got higher and higher,
you're like, oh my word, it's at $500,000 already.
Yeah, people would just keep going and it would just be like a snowball. And like, because we would get close to like, oh, we're getting close to $1 million. Like, just get it there. And everybody would donate again. Like, oh, we're going to get it to $1 million. Like, it could be crazy. I think it'd be cool to do it at least once just to see what the potential of a disc golf purse could be.
I agree. I mean, I think it'd be it's a cool one-off thing, and like if you had a disc golf purse that had $1 million, it would be a big storyline across the board.
Right.
But yeah, like I said, it's not sustainable. Yeah. It does kind of look like a little weird or unprofessional because like imagine seeing the Masters sponsored by GoFundMe. Like,
yeah, I think the better way to use crowdfunding in disc golf is kind of like how Kickstarter is being used, where like we get behind an idea or a product.
Well, that's already been used,
and that's already happening.
Like, we've seen what are the Birdie, the board game, the hydrogen loft putter.
The best example of this that could be like a bigger thing though would be like if the Pro Tour was like, hey, if we raise this much money, we can add 10 more tour stops and we can add these enhancements to our live network or something like that. And then like that would be a good thing to be like,
that's a good point.
Right. That would be like, okay, if we all get behind this, we can make the Pro Tour this much better. We can see it. It's tangible and it's definitely going to help grow the sport.
Yeah, if the Pro Tour put out like here is our live coverage plan. And like, if we get to this amount of funding, we're going to add 2 cameras. Right. If we get to this amount of funding, we're going to, have the commentating team on site. If we get to this amount of funding, then we're going to do whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like disc golf, like we're so young, like you got to be humble and like, get help where it's needed because like, people are willing to like try to make this sport. I think a lot of like money and efforts to help the sport grow might go like not unnoticed, but like they might be kind of done in vain because they're just not in the right spots. But there's so many people that want to help. There's just not that one spot to
actually do it.
So I think crowdfunding needs to happen more in disc golf.
Yeah, really quick before we go into our final segment, I did want to mention this piece of news. He's not really much to debate or talk about, but Simon Lizotte has officially announced his return to competition and basically to the tour. It will happen at the OTB Open in just over a month. I believe that event is in May. Mm-hmm. He is going to first play, I believe it's a local like B or C tier. He said it was a more like short technical course.
Right. Well, he said he's still throwing like 80% power, but that's obviously plenty for Simon.
Yeah. I mean, if you've seen his video at New London, I think he shot like a 7 down.
Yeah.
And that's one of the hardest courses I know of.
I would bet Simon, he may come back playing better golf than he ever has.
I mean, 50% power, he's probably still throwing like 400 feet? 450?
50% power?
He was throwing like, I mean, if Simon throws 100%, he can throw 700 feet.
Yeah, on a full distance shot. On a normal drive, it might be like 500 feet, though. On just a normal drive down a fairway, you think Simon's just going to rip 700 feet?
I think he's going to rip like close to 600, yeah. Have you forgot how far Simon throws? Simon will throw like sky hyzers like 400.
I've watched Simon on coverage.
That requires like 600 plus feet of distance.
I've watched, okay, but like, I'm not talking about hyzers. I'm talking
golf distance. Which one thing that's confusing about golf distance is like,
what are you talking about?
A player who throws 600 feet can easily, or maybe we'll go 500 feet. If like I go to a field and throw 500 feet in the field, that is farther than throwing 500 feet on a disc golf course.
What?
I promise you.
Wait, what are you talking about right now?
Like if you take me right now, if you took me to a field, my farthest throw is probably going like 420.
Sure.
Right? If you put me on a disc golf hole that's like a straight 400-foot shot, I could probably hit it with like a vulture. I think there's something off with disc golf distances. That's all I'm saying. I'm just saying like some of these players
that doesn't add up.
It doesn't, but I promise you. Like you could see like there's a hole where Paul threw a Luna 400 feet to the hole. If you put Paul on a football field, he's not throwing a Luna 400 feet.
What are you trying to say? Like gravity pulls different on disc golf courses?
I don't know what the like way we measure a hole is. I'm just saying like the hole distance. Like you can probably throw farther if you go to a disc golf course and you're just basically going on like this hole's 450 and I'm 20 feet away. I just threw it 430, and then you go to a field and you throw a full flex shot and you're like I only got 425.
I get the effect. Excuse me. I get the effect you're talking about. I do notice that sometimes. I think it has to do with like. Sometimes when you're trying to throw full distance shots, like you actually are not throwing as far because you're like, it's the whole, slowing things down. Sometimes you actually throw further. So I think that has something to do with it.
Well, I think part of it is also like how holes are measured. Like sometimes they'll measure like I walk down the fair because they'll use like a rolly thing to walk down the fairway, right? And it'll go like, so it was like 200 to the corner, and then we went here, and then we went
They
here.
don't go. A lot of them
it was
don't.
like 600 feet.
A lot of them don't go directly to the basket.
Point A to point B is like 410.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I think, I mean, it's pretty clear that a lot of disc golf courses are poorly measured.
That's what I was saying, basically. It's
Okay,
like
true.
So I think that Simon throwing in a field, like, let's just say 375 to 400 feet at 50% power, he's obviously going to have a lot of control over that. You put him on tour, I think that's like 450 tour power, and I think he's going to be good. I think he's going to have all the distance he needs.
I mean, that's fine. I don't care how hard he throws. He's got to make putts.
Well, yeah, but Simon's putting's always been super streaky because he's a spin putter. So when he's on, he is on.
Yeah.
All right, let's jump into the last segment of this show. Make that call. I've got a pretty interesting one for you here.
Okay.
Let me put you in a scenario.
Paint me in there.
So you're in a tournament. You and I are on the same card at this tournament. Okay.
Man.
I go ahead and
Deja
putt
vu.
out. I hit a 50-footer. Okay. You're 45 feet out. I hit a 50-footer.
Big putt me.
Yeah, and you go, and I'm like starting to walk in, and you're like, don't worry about it, just leave it. And so my disc is sitting in the chains. You told me, don't worry about it, leave
never.
it. Well, you did in this scenario. You're like, don't worry about it, just leave it.
Yeah.
Your putt, dead center, nails it, hits my disc, and knocks my disc out of the basket. So now my disc is laying on the ground. There's a weird scenario that might not ever happen, but
this is a cool one.
my
though.
disc is now laying on the ground
Yeah.
next to the basket. Did my putt count, or do I have to go tap it out?
Oh, darn. Well, so
Basically, the question here is, where did the disc come to rest? Is it
right?
Yeah,
Right. Okay.
that's the question you got to
Well, man, I'm gonna be really mad at PGA if this goes the wrong way. Because in ball golf, the rule is like if you hit a shot onto a green and it hits another ball, wherever your ball ends up is completely fine. Like if you could bank off somebody and go into the hole, it's a home run. But wherever their ball ends up, if you knock them into the hole, for example, you have to put the ball back where it was within reason, like to try to figure out where exactly it was. So I would assume that disc golf would adopt those exact same rules. And I almost think they do. I think if you hit a disc on the ground, I think you have to move that disc back to where it was. So yeah, I'm going to say the putt counts whenever the next person starts. That disc, if it's in the basket at rest, like it's dead, it's in.
You're right.
Thank goodness.
Once
I was
your
going
disc
to be
came to rest, supported by the basket, you completed the hole. This is the weird part, is like you can just walk up and pick your disc up off the ground and go to the next hole. Like that would just feel so weird.
I would have been so mad at the PDGA if for some reason that did not count.
The more common application of this rule is like if your disc came to rest in a river, like the base of a river,
and then flows.
and then the water picks it up and moves it, you go back to where it was at rest.
Yeah.
Or like if your disc came to rest and the wind stood it up and rolled it after it was clearly at rest.
But if it goes in the river and it was never at rest,
yeah, that's the weird one.
because like I'm saying, like if it's a strong current, it kind of just like you throw a drag and that thing floats and it just lands in there and like it never stops moving forward and then it just
I think it's like
hops off
there's
right next to the
some type of,
basket.
I wasn't looking at it because of this scenario, but there is some type of language of like what is causing the disc to move.
Right.
So I think like where it enters is where it is.
Okay.
But I'm not positive
sure.
on that one. Maybe that's the
Because
next
like
week's
that
scenario.
probably happens all the time.
Maybe
People throw
that,
water
that might
and
be
it
next
moves.
week's scenario. Is Trevor's throwing a dragon
You've
off
done
the tee.
another one though with water like that. I think it was the one where it gets picked up though.
Yeah, I think I got picked up.
That's why I only bag our pro Wahoos.
Yeah, they float, man.
But you don't like the dragon?
No,
You're not a you're
I'm
like
a Wahoo
They
guy.
don't make
You're
dragons
Wahoo.
anymore.
Wahoo Wah, you know?
I don't think they make dragons
UVA.
anymore. Why don't we make
Backline.
more discs that float? Just like name it the
Well,
boat.
because like to make a disc float, like the inside of the rim is like hollowed out.
That's cool.
But like, what's the point?
It doesn't. It floats.
But I'm sure that like affects the aerodynamics and stuff. Like,
I don't know. I'm just surprised like nobody ever makes those anymore. When like
it
I
is
think
weird it doesn't get made
to
more.
like the beginner player, they're gonna be like if they like they're
I
near.
had a dragon in my bag.
If the course near them has water, they're gonna be like, oh sick! I can have a driver that's like my main driver.
or even blizzard discs, they floated.
they floated.
Yeah, with the air bubbles in the rim.
I
You
think
never
it's
tried
just
that?
they float, not they floated.
No, like when I had them in my bag, they floated. They still probably do float. I just don't have them in my bag anymore.
They're still floating.
Yeah, like when I used to throw them, they used to float.
Okay. Yeah.
They're probably still floating. Yeah.
All right.
But like, I mean, everyone had a dragon in their bag. at
I did
some
not
point.
have a
Do you
dragon in
have
my
Wahoo
bag.
or a
Klein.
dragon?
I had a Wahoo.
No.
You
I
never
got-
had any
I got a
floating discs?
Wahoo.
Did you not play where water was?
No, I didn't have water at my
Okay,
course.
that makes sense.
I got my Wahoo signed by Nate Sexton.
Nice.
My R Pro Wahoo.
That's sick.
You're so cool.
Yeah, no, that is a good point. I wonder why other companies haven't expanded into that.
Man, between that and the bedtime basket, I'm gonna be a very rich man.
That's going to wrap it up for this week. Hopefully you've enjoyed this week's episode. Let us know down in the comments below what you think of the crowdfunding idea and also what else you want to hear us talk about. If you're a fan of deep dives into statistics and all of that good stuff, check out our new show, The Foundation Recap, I believe is what I'm calling it. What did I call it last week? I forgot what I called it last time I did it. There was one that the Pro Tour already has. And I don't remember if it was like... No, there was the Bevel breakdown. So it is the Foundation Recap on Saturday. It'll be premiering immediately after the live round. It'll be going live. Me, Trevor, and Nick Carl will be breaking down the statistics, telling you what we expect to see on Sunday, all of that good stuff. It should be a great time. Yeah, that'll be happening on the Foundation Podcast channel over on YouTube if you're listening to this on audio. And yeah, it's going to be a blast. It's going to be the first show that we're doing live in a while. Griplock used to be live way back in the day.
I remember.
Way back when. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, though, we'd really appreciate if you left us a review. And if you're here on YouTube, make sure you turn the notifications on, like the video, and subscribe. We really appreciate all of those things, and we will talk to you next week.